Iowa Theme Park Podcast, Season 2, Episode 1. Welcome back, everybody, to the Iowa Theme Park Podcast. We're glad to be bringing it back with our second season. I'm Nick McMahon.
I'm Jack Salisbury. Today, we are here with a special guest, Connor.
Well, howdy, everybody.
We're glad to have you on the podcast, Connor. It's great to talk coasters and Adventureland, Lost Island, everything. We're going to cover a lot on this episode. We're going to kind of chat about how the 2022 season went, what we saw, what we think between both parks. We'll maybe briefly chat about the announcement, but we're going to save that our chat about the announcement for another episode.
Yeah, so this year I got to Adventureland a couple of times, not as much as in past years, just due to other circumstances and other trips being planned. But I was able to make it to Lost Island the third day that it was open. So unfortunately, Skyborne was not open when we were there, but the SLC Napoku, however you say it, and Volcano, those were the two attractions that we were most excited for when we went. We were really surprised by Mira's Fury. I can't remember what it is. They're inverting like frisbee style ride. We thought there was a ton of fun. Napoku was pretty fun. It was kind of just a standard SLC. The only other one that I've been on is T3 with much different restraints. I liked Napoku more. It hurt as any SLC should, but only in one spot. And once you knew that spot was there and how to brace for it, the rest of the ride was a blast. I mean, SLCs, they don't have bad layouts. They're just terrible ride experiences.
Yeah, they're just typically, I have yet to ride one, but I've heard they're just an inherently rough coaster. But would you say that those next generation trains probably helped?
Yeah, they definitely helped. I guess I haven't been on one with the standard like over the shoulder restraints, so I don't know how it relates to headbanging, but I do know how it relates to the thigh crush you get on T3. Personally, I found that to be a lot more uncomfortable than Napoku.
Okay. How was Volcano?
Volcano, however, it was awesome. I mean, without getting into it too much to spoil it, it was just like, I would almost go to say like fully immersive. It was just incredible, the level of theming on it. Did all three of us, or was it just Nick and I? I think just Nick and I made it out to Universal this year in the spring.
Yeah, we were there in the summer.
Yeah, well, Volcano was almost on the level of a lot of rides down there, in my opinion. The one thing that stood out to me on it that like really sold me on the theming was as you roll into one scene, there is a like, you're supposed to be inside a volcano. There we go. And you roll into this one scene with all these screens around you, and it smells like smoke, which just like blew my mind. Wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, we saw it when Jack and I went up to the tour. We took a tour with Eric Birch and got to see some of the behind the scenes, and we actually got to walk through. It wasn't completed. We didn't get a ride, but I would say it was like better part of 98% complete. And the walkthrough it was fantastic, but you couldn't visualize all the elements because you weren't wearing the glasses and everything like that. But I knew it was going to be a special ride, and they just got the golden ticket for that too. So
yeah,
it's fantastic. And I didn't make it up there this season yet. I had some things come up this summer that just made it harder for me to get up there. But I'm definitely planning a visit, so I want to get a ride on that launch coaster.
It is worth noting, I went up with one of my buddies, and I won we rode Volcano like 14 times, and I beat him in all 14. It wasn't a competition at all. I just thought I needed to put that out there.
let's talk a little bit about Adventureland. We got several visits up there. We were fortunate enough to get a couple tickets from an employee who offered us to. They had an employee trial weekend. We got to kind of check things out. That was kind of cool to see. Friends and family weekend, I guess you could call it. And we got to kind of see all the changes. Then we went up on season pass preview weekend. That was kind of a mess. A lot of people there, which, a lot of things closed. I think just the weather really hurt uh, the the prior week's weather really hurt their chances to get rides commissioned and tested. Um, so a lot of stuff was closed. It wasn't a typical Adventureland experience, but I'm not chalking it up to a new ownership mistake. I think it was more of just weather was a bad factor in that, and we still had a blast. Anytime we get a ride monster or whatever, it's always a blast, right? But we made several weekend visits. Sometimes I day tripped up there with my son. We always had a blast. It seemed like during the weekdays, even sometimes during the weekends, that the park was slower than usual. Not gonna lie, it was kind of nice in some points because you could walk on just about anything, even Monster. 4th of July, we rode Monster 6 times without having to get off. First thing in the morning, that was fantastic. But the weather was not great to start on the 4th of July. It was a little rainy in the morning, so but 4th of July ended up being a blast. Got to see who played 4th of July.
Uncle Cracker.
Yeah, got to see Uncle Cracker. That was cool. I've never seen him in person. That was pretty cool to see. Um, did a little bit of live streaming from the park 4th of July. Got to see the fireworks show, saw the circus. Always a good experience on the 4th. It's a new family tradition for us to go up there on the 4th.
Yeah, the 4th of July, that was maybe one of the weirdest days that I've had at the park because I mean, I've been on the 4th the last 4 years or 5 years, and every time it's really busy, and then as the fireworks start, all the rides kind of die out. But this year we went and it was like there was nobody there. It was just crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it actually got busier towards the end of the night. I think everybody came just for the fireworks and for the concert, and stayed away from the day because of the weather. But I mean, I think afternoon the weather got better, and it was an absolute blast. Like I said, been slower than other years, but we had so much fun and got to do everything we wanted to do. And then I had a foot injury, so I wasn't able to work for a little while, but or visit the park for a while. But we made do, and now we're visiting again and looking forward to Oktoberfest coming up in a couple weeks. This will be our first Oktoberfest. We're thrilled to come and uh, and check it out. So ERT, want to talk about ERT a little bit, Jack?
Of course, I want to talk about ERT. So Iowa theme park enthusiasts, Nick and I is kind of smaller group, smaller like enthusiast group. We had our first ERT event on Monster this year. We had so 30 people show up an hour before the park opened, and we got to ride Monster exclusively for that hour. We were super fortunate to have a great operator and crew working with us that day or for that hour that let us ride like just they figured out a awesome way for us to ride as many times as we could and really maximize the amount of time that we had there. And after we got done with our rides, or I guess I should say that morning, was kind of misty and it wasn't cold, but it was just misty and kind of dreary. And Monster was running awesome. I mean, there are not too many coasters in the world where you would say it was running slow, and that was like a good thing. But in this case, it absolutely was. Monster was running it almost as slow as I've ever seen it. And the amount of hang time that you were getting, it was just incredible.
Yeah, yeah. ERT is something that for those of you listening out there didn't know we did ERT. Iowa theme park enthusiasts is we're here for you guys. We're here. We want to put on events like this on the regular, but we need your support. And how we get your support is sign up for these events. We try to keep it as low cost as possible. we intend to make this an annual event, as long as we can make the numbers, because our organization does not make money doing what we do. We rely on anybody that wants to come to help chip in and cover the cost. The park was a dream to work with. I got to give a shout out to Josie, our sales rep, who worked with us. I probably emailed her like 20 or 30 times, and she just had no problem responding every time I had questions, and she's quick to respond. So, and Alex at the park was excellent to work with as well. He's the one that helped put us in touch with the right people. They even gave us a little bit of a surprise, and we got to see a backstage tour of the Dragon Slayer, and we were also offered an opportunity to get the first ride on Dragon Slayer of the day. So it was overall a great opportunity, and we really would love to have more people join with us. We're going to try to keep it always at about $20 a person. You get a full hour of ERT, and the park was extremely respectful at honoring our wish that we get that full hour. They brought us back at 8:50, and right at 9 we were riding, and we were riding until 10:01, and it was fantastic.
Connor, do you have any fun stories from Adventureland this year, or did you make it out to the park at all?
Been out to the park a few times. I just every year you got to go and at least get your rounds on all the coasters. Obviously you got Monster, the king of hang time, even over Copperhead Strike, without a doubt. Always respect Monster's name. You got, the Iowa Classic Tornado. Always got to get on that. Outlaw, the GCI prototype. Then you have a fun, you mean a Mauer spinner, and you got the SNS free spin. So you got a couple fun little rides bouncing back and forth. So can't ever complain about getting some fun rides on those.
You forgot one.
Did I? Underground, that's right.
There we go.
Yeah.
The CCI Dark Ride. How could I forget it?
Yeah. So, and I gotta say the park looks fantastic. You could really tell that a lot of investment was put in the park in the off season, from the ginormous sign in front of the train to the new signage up and down Main Street, as well as new paint up and down Main Street. I've seen some comments that, oh, the place needs a lot of work, blah, blah, blah. Those folks clearly haven't been at the park in a while, because Coke Cafe got a much needed remodel. Everything is just, it's really starting to shine. And you can really tell that the effort that the Krantz family was putting into the park is being continued by Palace. And that's one thing that I really like to see, and I'm proud of. 9 new rides. We've ridden just about all of them, although not all of them are my cup of tea. I think they fit into the park very well for catering to families. And I'm looking forward to next year's 2 new attractions that are coming in: Dragon Falls and Flying Vikings.
Well, and not just, I think we kind of talked about it in an episode last year, if I remember right. But not just all the new rides, not them just fitting into the park's lineup well, but also fitting into the park like physically pretty well. That was one concern that I had, was that adding 9 new rides, it was going to get to feel kind of cluttered, and less like Adventureland and more just like a carnival trying to fit as many rides as you could in everywhere. And I think they did a very good job about limiting that feeling.
I agree 100%.
I also agree with that. It feels just like it always did.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's 9 new rides there, kind of like you said, Connor. The biggest one that I might feel different about on that subject would be where Rockin' Rainbow is, but it's a perfect spot for it.
It is. That's the one where you can tell they wanted it to be prominent. You walk down Main Street and there it is right there at the end. And it looks beautiful when you're walking down and that's running in the background.
Yep. And I think that was the original intent. Those rides were originally planned by the Krantzes, and I think they did a fantastic job with that. And everything just looks so good this year, and I can't wait to see what next year's going to bring. Even kind of seeing a little bit of refurbishment we saw on Dragon Island, with the game structures removed, Barney Swing installed by the water. It's just we had a blast this year, and I really can't wait for next year. It's going to be awesome.
I think a lot of the like painting and stuff they did this year to help the park look better. It's a lot of stuff that I'm sure the Krantzes and the previous ownership had talked about for a long time, but they never quite had the budget to fit it in. So it was either, I'm sure that it was a lot of having to choose, like, do we want to spend $7 million on a new roller coaster, or do we want to spend quite a large chunk of that on painting? But now, because it's a corporate owner and Palace has a much larger budget, they can do both in the same year. They could get 9 new rides and on top of that, paint everything. Or I'm sure next year we'll see we're getting a new coaster and a new log ride. And on top of that, I'm sure we'll see a lot more flowers, some paths redone, more painting, just generally beautifying the park. Things that couldn't be done under the previous owners because of budget constraints that we now can't see under the new owners.
Yeah, and I got to be honest with you. I think, the landscaping is always the flowers, the landscaping has always been something that Joyce and Chuck have done a fantastic job at. And I hope to see that continue, because the Joyce, it's just it's something that they're very dedicated to, and you can tell that the amount of love that they put into the flowers, it's unique. I don't think any other park has the beauty as far as the flowers and everything. It's like one of the number one compliments you see on pictures is, oh, the flowers look so nice. I'm not a landscape guy, but it's something that I appreciate. I hope to see that continue. Connor, I got to ask you, since we've never had you on the podcast before, what's your favorite flat ride?
My favorite flat ride. Are you talking at Adventureland or just in general?
I would say at Adventureland.
At Adventureland. Okay, because I kind of am in a weird spot with that, because I would say my favorite flat ride, if you want to call it that, is probably Space Shot.
Okay.
Whether you consider those flats or you consider them towers, either way. If we're going outside of that, I'd probably go with Sidewinder is my favorite flat.
Oh, that reminds me, Sidewinder's open, and we got to ride on the toned down version. I'm ready to come back and ride it. I hear it's all tuned up and operating at full speed now, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, my favorite flat probably would be Storm Chaser, and didn't get to ride it this year, but looking forward to next year.
Connor, what's your favorite flat ride not at Adventureland, just like in the industry?
Just in the industry, that's a tough one. I have to go with the Screaming Swings like Skyhawk, Cedar Point, Extreme Swing, Valley Fair. Those are just a good time. The only problem I have with those rides, at least at the ones I've been on, is just the cycle's too short with those.
Cycles on those are very short.
They're
I think
very short.
I was thinking about this the other day, actually. It'd be really cool if they found a way, if SNS figured out a way to be able to retract the platforms that your feet sit on. Like you just use a step to get up in the seat. If they could find a way to retract those under the thing, so that way your feet are just like hanging out, I think that'd be awesome.
Connor, do you have a favorite coaster at the park? I think I know the answer to this one.
Well, my favorite coaster at Adventureland is obviously going to be the Tornado.
Duh.
Really?
It's everybody's
There's
favorite.
No question about
Wait,
that.
you're being serious?
I am dead serious. Tornado is 100% my favorite coaster at Adventureland. You can.
I thought for sure you were a Monster guy. So
Monster's fun, but I can recognize Monster is the best roller coaster we have. But in terms of favorite, the nostalgia and all the memories I have with Tornado just put it over the edge, and always look forward to getting my next ride on Tornado.
That's a very fair response, actually. It's a very good explanation.
So I think we're going to have a tough time getting you on board with RMC Tornado, huh?
Oh, man. Can throw my shirt away.
That's a discussion for another episode.
Once you get your first ride on it, I think it'll win you over.
Oh, the whole 30 seconds.
35.
All right. What you got a food item that you like at the park?
Probably the mini donuts. You can't go wrong with a good bag of mini donuts.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They changed a little bit this year, but they're still good.
Oh, without a doubt. Just the classic.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not, yeah, there's not much else. I mean, eventually does have a pretty good food selection.
I don't know if you guys would be around long enough to remember this, but I remember back in the day when I used to go, you could go back to Outlaw Gulch and get a bloomin' onion. And that was probably my favorite food item Adventureland has ever had.
It's been a long time. I vaguely remember it, but I had a little
This is
bit
back
of,
before you had like you could just go in and grab something. This is back when you had to go and place an order and they'd give you like a little timer. You had to go sit down and wait until it started beeping. Then you went back up and had to go get it.
Yeah, I don't
Classic.
remember that at all. I remember them switching it. I remember them getting rid of the shooting gallery back there when they renovated all that, but I don't remember what was there before it.
Yeah, I'm fuzzy on what exactly it looked like, but I remember you could go back there and get a bloomin' onion. That was very, very good.
I'm fuzzy on it too. You know, I grew up going to the park in the 90s. So,
Old man.
yeah, I'm showing my age here, aren't I? But, you know, I had I'd say like a 14-year hiatus where I didn't go to the park. Why, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It just, one day my wife said, hey, let's go to Adventureland. And I've been back since, you know. Season passes are on sale right now. We already got ours for next year. We got the gold. It seemed like a good deal for us. You know, not being in town people, I had a tough time seeing the extra value in the platinum. If it had a lot of the extra offerings like it previously had, like the hospitality suite and such, it might be worthwhile for me. But I think gold will work for us. Anybody else got anything else?
I just want to say long live Tornado is the
Yeah, the structure will live on. You're right.
the whole ride will live on.
I don't think we're ever going to see eye to eye with you on this one.
It's never gonna happen.
Well, does that mean that if it does happen, you're going to refuse to ride it?
All the more rides for us, Jack.
That's what it sounds like to me.
And you can bet there would be an ERT event for that, for sure. But
Yeah,
I really
but-
think the whole RMC Tornado thing it's a fantastic concept. I think Palace may have. This is literally a whole nother episode here. I think there's a room for it. Connor and I have talked before about, there's not room for it. You got plenty of room for it if you factor in some of Dragon's old plot, but we can definitely bring this up in another episode.
That's a long conversation for a different day, is all I have to say on that matter.
For sure. Well, if we don't have anything else, I can wrap this up.
Thanks for listening.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, Connor. Thank you, everybody, for tuning back into season 2, episode 1 of the Iowa Theme Park podcast. Be sure to give us a like on Facebook, Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. We're on YouTube, and we look forward to bringing you future episodes.
Podcast is more back than Texas.
Thank you for tuning in to the Iowa Theme Park podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for updates on future episodes about Iowa's theme parks. We are also now featured on TikTok. Comment and let us know what you would like to hear on future episodes.